Hi guys, and welcome to yet another video. So today I'm going back to work after having 2 days off, and I don't know what floor I'm going to be working at. So as a travel nurse, we get to be floated on different units, and I love my step down unit because, like I said, I love using my critical thinking ability. But yeah, we could be floated, or I could be floated to the emergency room, I could be floated to med surg or the orthopedics floor. I would love if I'm staying on the step down unit tonight. And so after 2 days of being off, 2 days of beautiful rest, I get to go back to work. I love my job as a nurse, and so I'm always excited when I'm going back to work. And so I hope that tonight is going to be an amazing shift. I get to work the next, I think, 4-5 days in a row. I love to cluster my shifts together because it gives me that sense of continuity of care for my patients. Because when you come the next day, they always try as much as they can to make sure that you get the same patients. Let's go to the floor and see what we will be working with tonight. I'll see you guys when we get to the floor. Stay tuned. Okay guys, we made it to the parking lot. I'm a little late, so I'm going to quickly hurry out and go to the unit and get my shift started. I hope we all have a very beautiful night shift. Let's go. I just got to report on 3 of my patients, so I'll be expecting 1 more patient, and it seems like it's going to be a crazy night or a busy one because I have 1 patient who has an NG tube, I have 1 patient who has a GP and a colostomy, and we're about giving me another patient who seemed busy. The patient was actually coming with an NG tube, a colostomy, and blood pressure issues, and so I had to tell the charge nurse that it was going to be a very busy one for me. So I advocated for myself and I said I don't think I can handle all 4 patients at once. So she decided to give that patient to another nurse. That patient is actually coming from, I think, med surg, if I'm not mistaken. And never forget to advocate for yourself. If you feel like your load or your patient load is going to be too much, always let the charge nurse or whoever is in charge to be like, hey, I feel like it's going to be too much for me to handle. I'm going to be very busy. Can you at least swap one of my patients with another nurse? So that's what's going to be happening. So because I turned down that patient, another nurse is going to be getting that patient. So I'll be expecting my own 4th patient coming sometime within the night. Might be an ICU downgrade, might be a med surg upgrade, or it might be an ER patient whom I'll have to do admissions and all that documentation. So I'll be going back out there to look up at my patients' medications, look up the notes, get myself familiarized, and get my shift started. So guys, I have a patient who has a JP drain, which I was told empties out a lot. So I'm here to get one of these emptying and measuring canisters so that I can measure the output. And she also has a colostomy bag, which is new. Hopefully it wouldn't empty as much tonight, but I have these just because I need to collect and measure. So I'm here to get these 2 just so I can measure output. Now her NG tube to low intermittent suctioning has drained out a little bit, but it's nothing for me to worry as at now since it's also new. And yeah, I'm here just to pick out these ones. So I'll be going to the patient's room to go empty the JP drain as well as the ostomy to see if anything has come out. So I'll be going to the patient's room now. It's been a very tiring night. It is now 3:47 and I'm only getting to take my break right now. I had wanted to go for my break at about 2 a.m. but unfortunately my patient's heart rate just became very elevated in the 160s, and so I had to address that before coming for my break. So I look very tired, very exhausted, because I've been running back and forth with this patient. The patient had like low blood pressure, magnesium was low, potassium was low, heart rate was elevated, but they were not complaining of any chest pain. I had to do an EKG for the patient. I had to run a bolus for her because her blood pressure was soft, and she's currently getting the second bag of potassium out of 4. We also had an order for stat labs, so depending on what the stat labs come back in terms of her magnesium, then we would decide if to go ahead and give her the magnesium. I also gave her digoxin, but the digoxin didn't even help at all. So at this point we are considering maybe to start an amiodarone drip based on what the blood pressure comes back after the bolus is done. So we did an EKG, gave her digoxin. She's currently running a potassium. Her potassium is 3.0. Her magnesium is 1.4, but it was never rechecked like a day ago. So based on that, we'll see whether to start the magnesium, and then based on when the bolus finishes, we will decide. I'll let the provider know so that we can make the decision as to whether to start the amiodarone drip. We also tried a Valsalva maneuver on her, basically just telling her to hold her breath and bear down, but it didn't help any much because after like 2 rounds she was very tired and didn't want to do anymore. And then it was just like she's a heart stick, and they've been poking her back and forth to get lab draws. I had to call like the special IV person to come and get like midline for the patient. The patient currently has 2 IV access, but she has like all sorts of fluids currently running, so I needed a 3rd access just in case we decide to run the magnesium and just in case we decided to run the amiodarone drip. So it has honestly been a back and forth, and I'm only taking my break right now, so I'll quickly take my break and then go back. And then one of my other patients' blood pressure was also elevated in the 190s. I gave her hydralazine and followed that with a one-time labetalol, which I reached out to the provider and he gave the order for it. But I think it's been 3 hours now. So I had to give her PRN Q6 hydralazine now. And then went in there and she was also vomiting, so I had to give her compazine as well. And she was also verbalizing pain, so had to give her morphine as well. So actually I had to ask the charge nurse to help me administer that because I was busy in the other patient who was having like everything going on with them, because I was in the room there with the provider. One of my other patients is actually confused and in restraints, and the other one is also confused, but he seems okay. So my patient load tonight is really kind of hectic, I will not lie. But even if I should come back tomorrow and I get the same patient load, I won't mind, because I know that I already know what's going on with the patients. And so one, is going to be easy to document for these patients, and then two, I already know what to look out for the patients. So based on that, I know that tomorrow if I get the same patient, it's going to be kind of like a smooth ride. So for now, I'm in the break room and about to get my lunch break. Guys, it's time for 6 o'clock mate. I am so tired, exhausted. I feel like I've been running around like a chicken without a head. I'm so glad that it's almost over. The shift is almost done. Time for me to pull out my 6 o'clock medications. I have IV Zosine, which is an IV antibiotics. Levothyroxine I won't be giving it for my patient because she's NPO, and I have continuous fluid to pull out for one of my patients.
I'm doing better, life cannot be more golden. But honestly, I won't lie. Sometimes I ask why I can't get you out my head. Now hard to forget that I really need to cut you off. You're always trying to lead me on. You're making all these promises and you'd always quit. You're just another hypocrite. No, I'm can't she got no ahead. No, you thought that I would always stay, but you thought I'd be yours and she got my mind no but. Someone tell me why.
Okay guys, I'm finally in my car about to head home. A recap of last night's shift. Honestly, it was a tedious one. I felt like I was running around, especially at about 2 a.m. when my patient had sort of the situation with the heart rate and the electrolytes and her labs. Basically, it was honestly kind of busy night that no nurse would love to have. Every nurse dreams of that shift, coming to work and just chilling, chit-chatting with their co-workers and basically not doing much. But last night I felt like the other nurses were chilling, and I was, basically between giving intervention to the patient and, reaching out to the provider. The provider had to come to the bedside because the patient's heart rate was kind of like in the 160s. So the telemonitor tech had to call to say the patient was actually in AFib RVR. So the provider came, patient wasn't sustaining, or patient's heart rate wasn't going down or slower despite the interventions that we gave. And so when the provider came, we had to do try to make the patient to do to bear down, but it wasn't helping. I gave a one-time digoxin. It took a while for the digoxin to kick in, like an hour for the digoxin to kick in. Blood pressures were soft, we had to give a bolus. Potassium was on the low side, 3.0, so we had to replace it with 40 IV. Magnesium was also low, so we had to replace it with 2 grams. Hemoglobin was also on the low side. Well, not necessarily on the low side, but the previous hemoglobin was 9.1. And then the lab that was ordered, the recent lab that was ordered during when the patient's heart rate was elevated, the hemoglobin came back 7.6. So we just had a lot of things to work on when it came to the patient. We ended up giving the patient magnesium sulfate 2 grams, ended up giving potassium 40 milli equivalent, ended up giving a one-time digoxin like I said. We ended up giving the patient a 250 bolus just to fix the blood pressure. Patient was already on like ppn, lipids. I think the IV antibiotics was also running at the time, and so it was just a back and forth, monitoring, doing interventions, monitoring, doing interventions, monitoring, checking out for the labs, replacing the labs that needed to be replaced. And after being replaced, you have to put in more labs just to follow up to see if the interventions that were given actually fixed the situation. So honestly, I thought to call a react for this patient, but the provider said not to call it because he was coming to the bedside. So guys, it's time for me to go home. Even the patient was like, I think it's time for you to go home. You've been in my room for so long and it's time for you to go rest. I am just so exhausted right now, and I had another patient who was on restraints, so I had to finish up my restraint documentation and make sure that I cut all the T's and dot all the I's, because I don't want to be getting those annoying text messages or calls saying that I should come and fix my documentation with regards to restraints or anything of that sort. So I had to make sure to go through my documentation. I had to document my I's and O's, especially for the patient, the same patients that had the situation with the heart rate. They also had a JP drain, so I had to document the output of that. They had a Foley, I had to document the output of that. They had an ostomy bag as well, but the ostomy bag was newly placed, so there was literally no output. And they had an NG tube connected to low intermittent suctioning. I had to document the output for that. Basically, there was just a lot of things that I had to finish up and make sure that I got caught up with my documentation. I'm going home now, so tired, so exhausted. I will just go ahead and take something light. I don't think I'm going to be able to eat something heavy for breakfast, take my shower, and I'm just going to pass out. I can tell you that I'm going to pass out once I crash on my bed. And I'll be back tonight. Honestly, it's not going to be a tedious one, even if the patient should present themselves with the same situation, because with regards to documentation, I already know what to document. With regards to what to look out for, I already know what to look out for. So I won't be reading the notes like so in depth like I did on the first night when I'm getting all new patients, or when I just returned from 2 days off. So tonight is going to be hopefully a chill night in terms of documentation and already knowing what the patient looks like, unless if the patient's status changes and we have to call a react or we have to call a code blue, then that will be a different scenario. But as at now, if everything is being equal and I have the same patient and it's going to be like kind of the same situation, then tonight is going to be an easy shift. I love coming back, especially when I have to have the same patient, because it's pretty much like just copy and paste when it comes to the documentation. You know, that is one good thing I love about Epic is just amazing when it comes to documentation, very easy, as opposed to Meditech that I used in my previous hospital. It was just time consuming, a lot of typing. But with Epic, there's some typing here and there, but it's not as many or as tedious as Meditech. So it's kind of easy and you can easily do your copy and paste. But with Meditech, that was a challenge for Meditech. So I'm looking forward to coming back tonight, and I know it's going to be an amazing shift. I'm trying to be optimistic. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned what it takes and what to look out for those who are coming new on the step down ICU unit. There's going to be a lot of monitoring electrolytes, there's going to be a lot of monitoring patients' vital signs, there's going to be a lot of interventions and then monitoring what was done for the patient if he helped to fix the situational issue. There is going to be, you know, just looking out for the patient output, input. If patients are confused, patients are unrestrained, if patients are confused, patients who are trying to get out of bed, if patients are confused, who are trying to take out their oxygen. So those are some things that you have to look out for. There's also some skills, IV, lab draws. If your hospital is not having phlebotomies on the floor or on the unit, then you would have to, you know, practice or make sure that you're excelling in your IV skills, so to speak. So yeah guys, I hope that you learned something from my last night's tedious experience. Honestly, I didn't get a chance to show as much as I would love or as I wish, but I hope that my explanations in what I could document or record is going to shed some light as to what else I had to do on my other patient. So thank you so much for staying right up to the end of this video. I hope that you're going to like, share and subscribe. And if you've watched the video right up to this end, come and tell me, why haven't you subscribed? Come on, help us, let us grow this channel to 500, and I am very optimistic that we're going to hit 1,000 by the end of June. So guys, I'll see you in my next one. Till then, stay blessed. I love you guys. Bye.